Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. I'm your host Deepti Diwan and I welcome you to Channel Directions 2021, the virtual conference organized by CRN and Indian Express Group. At the onset, it gives me immense pleasure to thank our partners, our presenting partner Polly and silver partner Axis Communications for their full-hearted support towards this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, the year 2020 changed everything. Organizations quickly adapted business models to shift to the new normal, while enterprise OEMs and partners took active steps to contain the effects of the pandemic. With the initiation of the vaccination program, there is hope that the growth in the industry, which is rebounding gradually, will be much greater than the previous years. 2021 is rightly being called the year of hope, as the entire world is looking at this year to bounce back. It is in this context that CRN, Computer Reseller News, India's #1 IT channel brand, has launched Channel Directions, a virtual conference that will have India's top IT companies discuss their key plans for channel partners for 2021. This is critical in the current scenario as channel partners seek new opportunities and partnerships as well as new business models. With our theme, Co-Creating a Roadmap for the Future, we present to you some thought-provoking sessions and discussions by industry experts and veterans. We also have opportunities for you to be able to network and chat with our partners during the course of the day by using the chat option or by requesting a virtual meeting. So do indulge in some networking. And don't forget to tweet about the event and share your views with the hashtag CRNCD. With that, I would like to kickstart this conference by inviting our keynote speaker, Byju Pillai, Group Managing Director in Flow Technologies. Byju brings more than 30 years of rich experience in the IT industry, and we all know that he is the pioneer in building successful, value-added businesses in IT industry. He has joined us live from Singapore to share his thoughts on efficacious management of channel business. So without further ado, over to you, Byju.
Good morning, Deepti. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Thank you, CRN, for this opportunity to speak to our partner community. I'm really honored and delighted. How do we build a competent and effective channel business? How do we efficiently grow our SI or reseller business? What does it take to succeed and become a sure shot winner? We all talk about the grace of God and some term it as luck. But while I agree 90% could be luck and we need the grace of God, we still need to take care of a few action points in business, especially in our kind of business. And that's a necessity, and that will definitely help us to succeed. So, I thought when CRN invited me, I said, let me figure out a few points and give you some thoughts on what to work on, which will help you build your business in the short term and in the long run. So last night I spent some time and put together about 6 points for all of you to ponder over and work on. Some of these you'd have heard before. Some of them might be new, but it's important that I believe that we need to work on these. I've seen many partners succeeding and many partners failing because they didn't probably follow the fundamentals of business. So with my experience, I thought, let me bring in these points and then get some thoughts provoked in your mind. Yeah. So let me just share this little points I put in. Share screen. Okay. So I decided to call it, efficacious management, which means, how do we have a competent and more effective business? So I just found a word for it. Nothing more to worry about that word. Okay. The first point, I think, in our business that we need to really worry about or think about and practice is how do we build integrity and how do we build credibility, right? And unless we have this high integrity across organization or across people you deal with from your organization, you will not be able to build credibility. You have to have high integrity over a period of time to build credibility. And I believe credibility builds trust. And once you build trust, then I think you will be able to get immense amount of help from your suppliers, your vendors, your distributors, everybody, including in many cases end customers, right? So I think the number one item which some of us are missing probably is how do we build this? How do we build this trust? Right? So some things that you need to practice in business. A simple thing could be loading of orders. Right? If you do not have a clean end customer PO, I would say, under whatever pressure from vendors or others, please do not load orders. Right? It will invariably get you into working capital trouble. We have seen it many times. So one of the things is to make sure that you have an effective system to check every detail of your quote and your PO, and then you do the loading. You might do 1,000 transactions very well, but one bad transaction can really affect your working capital. We have seen it, many of you have seen it, and I would say it's a simple thing. And what happens is if you get into trouble, then your integrity is questioned, your processes are questioned, and then we really, everybody starts trusting. Trust becomes a problem, and then you get into issues with your suppliers. So everything affects working capital, right? That's a real issue. So one simple example is loading. Number two is whatever business plan that you have, whatever go-to-market that you worked out, I would say always work out the cash flow dynamics. While you'll have a top line and a GM, etc. Numbers going, but look at the cash flow. And cash flow needs to be studied every week, every month, every quarter. It's a regular issue. Now, the working capital is always a challenge. So, but how do you get more working capital? One of the ways I would tell people, if you believe in your business, then please leverage your assets for working capital. Right? You might have homes, you might have land, etc. But if you believe in it, you might have to pledge it to the bank, maybe, but negotiate with the banks to say that you would give you 15% in assets and then balance 85% that you can get a working capital loan. Right? They might ask you 50, but you need to negotiate that, get multiple bankers involved, but leverage your asset. Because you believe in the business, then therefore you should be able to leverage. Number two, a problem that I've seen with partners is that they are scared of giving a personal guarantee or a corporate guarantee. If you believe in your business, why will you not give a personal guarantee or a corporate guarantee? You can. All of us have done it. All of us, including me, have built businesses in the past by leveraging assets, by giving personal guarantee, by giving corporate guarantee. I still give personal guarantees, right? Because I believe in my business. And what happens is when you give your personal guarantee or a corporate guarantee, you come out of a way and give it, your suppliers will give you more limits, right? Because they know that you believe in the business, therefore they need to give you more limits. The other thing that you need to do is you need to slowly and consistently increase your limits, which means you may not be able to do it every month, but nothing wrong in trying every quarter. What stops you from giving your P&L and balance sheet every month, every quarter? We, as Info, we would give our balance sheet and financials every month to some of the vendors, every quarter to some, every year to some. Right? We go out of our way to give it. Nobody asks for it. So I'm saying it always helped. Right? And you should also work on closing your P&L within the 4th or 5th working day and share it with your key suppliers and tell them, hey, how you are improving, how you're growing, how well your cash is being managed. So you need to get your companies rated. Rating agencies are there. You need to work with them to see, at least you know where you stand, right? And then you can figure out ways to improve your rating. This will again help you with the suppliers. And you should consistently keep increasing it. Maybe in a year you may not require as much limits because maybe you lost some orders or something went wrong, but working capital limits will always help you. You don't know when the next big order is going to come in, right? The other thing that you need to look at is to do bill discounting. see, it's very easy to do end customer basis bill discounting with India factors, Can Bank factors, SBI global factors. There are many other factoring companies who are happy to give you bill discounting because it's a clean end customer order, and end customers typically would pay you plus or minus 15 days. They would pay you unless you've given some wrong terms or accepted some wrong terms, and you can easily discount these bills at reasonable prices. You can get it at about 9%, 10%, right, or less than that. You will be able to discount it and pay your suppliers on time. There is nothing wrong, each of these factoring companies would give you a limit, and then you can decide which customers would go to whom. It's a simple approval process, and it doesn't come. It can be an off balance sheet item. It won't come into your debt, right? So it's something which you would explore. If you guys want help on it, we'll be happy to help separately. But that's something you guys need to explore, because it's very difficult for disties or vendors to get bill discounting limits on channels, right? Some of them, yes, but then generally it's difficult. But to get from end customers, very easy. So work on it. The other thing is with software and services, nowadays, you're going to have issues on 10% TDS. Imagine you have a large services portfolio, and every time customer deduct 10%, the amount of money stuck in income tax is going to be high. After March is over for the whole year, then you file your returns by October, November, and in the following year they pick it up, and it takes you another 6 months to 1 year to get it. So your money is blocked for 2.5 years. So it's important that in the beginning, you prepare in March, and the beginning of April, first day of April, second day of April, go push your income tax people. The officer will give you a lower TDS certificate. Invariably, we've been able to get that in 60 days time. There's some lucky years we got it in April, but sometime by May. If you're able to get a lower TDS certificate at 1% or 2%, then the 10% falls to a low value, which will be more or less equal or better to your income tax that you pay. So you will not have these money blocked. So these are some of the ideas I'm giving you to manage your working capital. If you manage your working capital well, you will be able to build high integrity. You're paying always on time. Your credibility is always very good. Your team, see, you must be thinking that, hey, maybe my finance guy is speaking to the vendor or or to the distie, and or maybe I'm speaking. But no, there's tremendous pressure in the field. When the limits are low, people try to switch the deals, right? Vendors would switch your deals. You might be a good guy today, a good partner, a lot of capabilities, technical capabilities, but money-wise is a problem. Working capital is a challenge, so orders go away for no reason. You build a beautiful business, but working capital is the reason for business not to grow. So look at working capital. Another important thing for you to know is you need to realize how the industry operates. How do disties operate? How do vendors operate? Where, how do you get these limits? You should remember that everybody works with an insurance company. There are 3 active insurance companies in India at the moment. There could be more, or insurance companies. In future, we might have more. But what happens is we give your P&L and balance sheet to these insurance companies. They get data from different sources. There are different independent agencies working on each of your balance sheet and P&L. So even if somebody is going to give a wrong P&L balance sheet, that will definitely hit your integrity, because invariably the disties and vendors have your original P&L balance sheet of previous year with them, right? There are third parties giving it. So it's important for you to talk about your P&L and balance sheet, share it regularly, and explain in case something has gone wrong. I think in business, some month, some quarter can be bad, but we can always explain it. And if it's logical and correct, then people will accept it, right? So credit teams across disties and vendors, they all share information, right? Like a bank, they all will informally share. Anybody can pick up any phone or mail, and always data is shared. So constant data sharing happens, right? Constant checking happens. Adjustments of limits are going on. Reduction of limits are going on. Increase in limits are going on. Constant, right? Even vendors use Dun and Bradstreet kind of agencies to look for data. And if they want to stitch a large deal, then they come back, right? And then they talk to the disties also, say, hey, how do we do this? Who's the right partner, and so on, right? So this is what happens in the background. And therefore, it is important for you to be absolutely open about your P&L, balance sheet, financial statement, and tell us how you want to improve, how you want to work on it. And whatever I told you earlier will all help you to build that integrity, thereby credibility, and constant credibility will build a lot of trust. which means larger limits, and you're going to do very, very, very well. Okay? So that's the first point I wanted to emphasize on. Second, you would have heard this before, but see, the market is going through such a rapid change, especially with cloud adoption. It's one of the examples. Right? So earlier days, when you look at the pyramid, I would say the infrastructure was a large piece of the base, right? A huge amount of IT infrastructure happening. You had the middle area where the middleware was always on, and then you had the little pyramid on top, little part of it, which is applications, few applications, right? But with cloud coming in, and I think over the next 5 years, you've heard it before, but I think the time has come, a lot of changes happening, because I think maybe 5% of enterprise applications are probably on the cloud. Over the next 5 years, I think it will go to 40%. Right? That's a large change. And we'll always have cloud and on-prem together, but I believe this pyramid is going to get overturned, right? In the long run, which means you on the top of the pyramid, an overturned pyramid, you will have large number of applications, middleware like Kubernetes, etc., app management, etc., anyway being there, similar size, and IT infra will fall. So which means in the long run, your inverted pyramid will have large number of applications. We're already seeing it, large number of applications across enterprises also. Even SME is no brainer, right? They don't have any IT support. They can easily go to cloud and get in. But enterprises and corporate customers will take a little more time, and many applications will move. So that's one kind of an example I'm giving you. But having said that, I think you need, as partners, to pick your focus area. You need to decide, hey, I'm going to be in cybersecurity, or I'm going to be in storage, or I'm going to be in a part of cybersecurity, or I'm going to be in training, and so on. But ensure that whichever area you've taken, you sufficiently manage, sufficiently working capital is put in, do everything necessary, because it's a huge area, right? There's enough market share to pick up. And if you've chosen that area to be your area to make money, then please spend time and money on it and people on it, rather than digressing and going to multiple areas, which will always be a challenge. Second, within this, again, it's better to choose a few vendors, right? Choose one vendor in a particular area and work very closely with them so that you can get maximum mileage and maximum market share. Some of you have done a good job about it, but I think that's very critical. Over time, for new technologies, etc., you can choose another vendor and move on, right? That way, I think you will be able to get the best out of the emerging market, right? So focus area, especially with cloud, guys, is very important to think through and work out a go-to-market for your focus area. Obviously, you will accordingly have the right working capital and the right team, right? So just focus on that. Next. Okay. The other thing I thought was important is, even though organizations are small or mid-size or larger, definitely, the CEO, MD, or the owner cannot be a master of everything. He can be a jack of all, right? But he cannot be a master of anything, right? He could have one area, maybe he's a master, right? He could be a technology guy, maybe a finance guy, maybe just a excited entrepreneur, and or maybe operation strength, but he cannot be all. So one, of course, the CEO has to learn a bit of everything. He should be able to communicate with his team across functions. If he doesn't know some functions, he can go take online classes, meet friends, come back to disties or experts, and then learn a bit of it, right? Fundamentally, you should be clear about it. But most important thing is to recruit functional experts, right? You have to have functional experts. You have to get good ops guys. You have to get good finance person. One of the things I keep doing, we have many, is that we have chartered accountants who have not finished chartered accountancy, right? They only finished, they got 2 exams, so they finished one, they tried the second one for many years, they failed, right? But he's not a CA. But he's probably sometimes better than a CA because he tried so hard to pass, right? And he failed. And because it's a very tough exam, nothing to really do with the people. Sometimes luck is not on your side. So get these half CAs, if you want finance people. And but get good functional experts. You are a technology, then look around, get the guy trained, get a good technology guy. Functional experts are very critical. Otherwise, we'll end up having issues with end customers, having issues with suppliers, and general morale goes down, right? So that's another area you might want to think about and work on. Fourth, this is a very interesting thing for you to do. See, generally in our business, we always look at what is the top line, and we get excited with how much business have we made on top line, and then we also over years started looking at the gross margin. Right? Gross margin is what minus the cost of goods. What is the margin that you make? And you are excited with say 18%, 15%, 10%, and so on. But one of the things that you need to do, which I've been practicing for years, and you need to probably look at it also, is a transaction margin. So gross margin is okay, but what happens is some deals look like high gross margin, but by the time you finish the deal and collect your money, the transaction margin is actually very low than what you planned. And so your high gross margin suddenly looks bad. You incentivize people on gross margin, right? And then think, oh, I moved from top line to gross margin, done a great job. But what you don't realize is there are many people who bring you gross margins, but the transaction margin is much lower. What is transaction margin? Transaction margin is the next level of margin where you look at the cost of that deal. Whenever a PO comes, don't just look at the gross margin, look at other costs. There's so many other costs involved, right? On the margin. I'm not talking about direct costs like salaries and direct costs like admin and depreciation. Leave that aside. I'm just talking about the deal. On the deal, you might have forex cost, you might have distribution cost or freight costs. If you're importing, there could be inward freight costs. You will have bank guarantees given. You are given. You have a cost of finance because somebody would ask you for more credit. You might be giving the disti 45 days, but then you might have to give 120 days. Look at the finance cost, and if you're discounting bills, like I told you earlier, you could look at the bill discounting costs. You could have committed on service delivery. You could have, I don't know what kind of, and you would have had, I'm not talking about the pre-sales cost, but I'm saying on delivery, you might have say, I'll give you free training, or I might have to outsource some implementation, etc. Take those direct costs. And then before loading the PO itself, make sure what your transaction margin is. And you'll know if you're operating at a let's say, 5% PBT in your organization you want to operate, you might and your fixed cost probably is 4%, then you might want to operate at 9% TM. So, but then your gross margin could show 15, but then if your costs are 10, then your transaction margin comes down, and then you will never be able to hit your PBT, right? So have a system to monitor. Get your finance guys, get your sales field team, etc., to focus on transaction margin. So right upfront, you will know that this is the money I'm going to make. You're thought through everything, and then your numbers will start looking better. And then you will figure out ways to go back to the end customer and talk to them, or go back to the vendor and talk to them and say, listen, it's not working out here. This is the issue. Okay? It'll at least it'll get your team to think about it. Okay? That's a very important point. The next point I would want to say is you have to define metrics. Right? Metrics could be, like I told you, about transaction margins, could be cash flow, could be TDS, could be revenue per transaction margin, revenue or transaction margin per end customers, sales by number of employees. You will have various mechanisms, right? Which vendor gives you maximum profitability, or which technology gives you, but build MIS around it, and make it a point to measure it every month at least. Right? Some of them will go into a daily deal-based measurement, but some of them will be at least monthly. As an owner, CEO, MD, you have to measure it. So what happens once once you're conscious about it, then you will be able to take action. Right? So that's very important to measure. Don't leave it, and don't imagine some things which you have a gut feel, something in your mind may not be true when you look at the paper. Somebody you think is giving you a large amount of margin, when you look at the real numbers, TM, you will find it's not correct. Somebody you thought was not important will suddenly become very important. Right? So spend some time on it. It's very, very important. Yeah. So these are 5 operational points I wanted to talk to you. I said I talked about a 6th point, but which is not operational, but something for the long run. I put in another point, which I think, given our channel community and the partner community that I've been seeing over the last few years, or last many years, or last decades, I think M&A. It could be strategic investment. You can go call a PE investment, but everything comes under the name called M&A, right? though I'm not really talking only about mergers and acquisition here. You could. So M&A is an area which many of you can look at. So there could be issues with your business. It's not growing for certain reasons. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe you're geographically not able to expand. Maybe you're not able to expand in technology wise. Maybe you want to join hands with, you're very good at on-prem, join hands somebody in cloud. Or maybe your business has grown, you're getting older, your children don't want to do this business anymore, right? Or, management, sometimes some places they take over, right? But your management also doesn't want to take over. They are also got old along with you. So there could be various reasons, but I would encourage the channel community to seriously look at like-minded people, organizations. Some have happened, and it's doing very well, but not enough. I would say really look at M&As, and if you want help on it, we are happy to help. You can always structure it in a way that owners can be on the board. You can get a professional CEO to run it. Because running the business is different. Maybe one of the owners can run it, but you can, your equity can be shared. You can structure it based on your net worth, based on your profitability, based on your growth, and you can become larger organizations, right? And with trust, I think M&As can happen very well, and which will definitely help the industry. Okay, so those are the thoughts I want to leave with you. Many partners follow and practice many of these points, and I talked about. Many have been successful. Many will be successful in future. I hope some of these points help you folks. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pillai, for sharing your knowledge with us.